Hey, tonight we're going to Belgium, to Antwerp, where the cobblestone streets glisten under a soft, damp sky, and old buildings lean into each other like they're sharing centuries of secrets. Imagine standing in the city's famous Diamond Quarter after the last trader has locked his doors for the night. The air smells of rain and old stone. You hear the distant clang of a tram, the soft hum of the city breathing, and maybe, just maybe, the faintest sound of a lock turning, coming from somewhere deep beneath your feet. Somewhere in a rented office that overlooks the street, a man named Leonardo Notarbartolo is looking at a set of blueprints. He's not an architect, he's a thief. But the building he's studying tonight isn't just any building. It's the Antwerp Diamond Center. And he's about to open a door that the world said was sealed forever. You probably wouldn't last a day on his crew, not because of the danger, but because of the incredible, almost supernatural patience you'd have to find within yourself, a patience that could last for years. So, before we get started, take a second to settle in. Let me know in the comments where you're listening from tonight. Dim your screen, get comfortable, and let's unlock the story of this impossible heist together. The office smells faintly of stale coffee and rented furniture. A weak winter light filters through the large window, casting long gray shadows across the floor. Leonardo stands by the window, not looking out at the city, but at the building across the street, his own building. One hand rests on the cold radiator, the other holds a small, powerful magnifying glass, a jeweler's loupe, that he isn't using. The ritual matters. Antwerp, below him, is a slow-moving river of gray coats and quiet commerce. The city, famous for its diamond trade and its understated elegance, hums with a strange kind of purpose. The locals call it a city of secrets, but Leonardo knows better. The secrets aren't hidden, they're just protected. Protected by layers of trust, tradition, and a whole lot of concrete and steel. He's in his late 40s, but tonight, under the weight of an idea so perfect it feels like a memory, he feels timeless. The air holds a kind of pressure, like a secret that's about to break. Not loudly, but with that quiet, satisfying click of a vault's locking mechanism disengaging. Behind him, the office door opens without a sound. His associate, a man we'll call the genius, leans in. He's a specialist in alarms, a man who sees the world as a series of electrical circuits waiting to be rerouted. He's tired in a way that settles deep in the bones. He says, "It's ready." His voice is a low whisper. Leonardo turns. The loupe is placed silently on the desk. Waiting for him are the other members of his small, hand-picked team. They are not local thugs. They are specialists, masters of their individual crafts. There is the monster, a man of incredible strength and skill with heavy tools. There is the king of keys, a locksmith so gifted it was said he could open a lock by simply listening to it. And there is Speedy, the man who would make everything disappear when the time came. They are not here for small talk. They're here to see if this charming Italian man is finally ready to move. This was Leonardo Notarbartolo, the architect of a plan born from a rented office and a deep fascination with the concept of unbeatable. For over 2 years, he had lived a double life. By day, he was a respectable Italian diamond merchant, making small talk, closing minor deals, and building a reputation for being reliable, if a little boring. He was a part of the system. He had a security pass. He knew the guards by name. But by night, he was a student. He studied the building's routines, the garbage collection schedule, the way the light fell in the corridors at 3 a.m. He learned the hum of the building's climate control system. He was applying a jeweler's precision to the art of theft. The silence he's cultivated wraps around the men. It's not a threat. It's a promise of control. The conversation is brief, whispered. They discuss the 10 layers of security protecting the vault, the infrared heat detectors, the Doppler radar, the seismic sensors, the magnetic field, and of course the lock on the vault door with its 100 million possible combinations. A missing piece of information about the exact model of the heat sensor. Leonardo listens more than he speaks. His fingers tap the desk, a slow, steady rhythm, his own. "We can find out about the sensor," the monster says, his voice a low rumble. "There are ways to make people talk." Leonardo looks up, finally. "No," he says. "We don't make people talk. We listen to what the building is already telling us. We fix the problem, not create new ones." There's a pause, not a challenge, just the sound of professionals recalculating the odds around a new variable. This Italian merchant doesn't speak like a heavy, but his stillness is louder than any threat they've ever heard. It's deliberate, like studying a diamond for flaws before making the first cut. After the meeting, Leonardo doesn't go back to his apartment. He walks through the quiet, rain-slicked streets of the Diamond Quarter. The shops are all closed, their windows protected by heavy steel shutters. A cat sleeps on a warm electrical box. Above them, the stars are hidden by the city's glow. He walks to the main entrance of the Diamond Center. He stands there, under the awning, out of the rain. He does this every night. He returns to the place where his plan will either succeed or fail. He feels its weight, its presence. Tonight, though, he thinks he sees something. A flicker of movement in a window across the street. A curtain pulled back, then quickly closed. Or maybe it's just a trick of the light. It doesn't matter. He knows he's being watched. By the building's own security, by rival traders, by the universe itself. When you plan something this big, you become the center of a gravity well. He stands there, the city spread before him like a promise. The weak light from his own office window is still on. In the distance, a church bell chimes, a lonely metallic sound. It's the weekend of the annual Diamond Ball, a major social event. The city will be distracted. The security guards will be thinking of parties and champagne. Leonardo's burner phone vibrates in his pocket. A message from a number with no name. The shield is ready. He deletes it without replying. The shield was a custom-made piece of aluminum designed to block the magnetic field around the vault door. A simple solution to a complex problem. He thinks about the vault, 2 floors below ground, encased in concrete and steel. It was not just a room. It was a legend, a fortress. People in the diamond trade spoke of it in hushed, reverent tones. The vault that couldn't be opened. But Leonardo had found its secret. Not a flaw in the design, but a flaw in human nature. People believe in legends. They stop checking the details. They get comfortable. He had discovered that the key to the vault was kept in a small, unsecured utility closet just down the hall. Not the combination, but the physical key itself. An incredible oversight. A moment of human laziness in a system of perfect technology. But how to get a copy of the key without anyone knowing? He had placed a tiny camera, the size of a pen tip, in the ceiling of the utility closet months ago. He had waited, patiently, for a guard to open the key box. It took weeks, but one day a guard did, and for a few brief seconds, Leonardo's hidden camera recorded the key, hanging on its hook. From those images, the King of Keys had created a perfect replica. A car pulls up to the curb, its headlights cutting through the rain. Speedy is at the wheel. He doesn't look at Leonardo, just unlocks the passenger door. Leonardo gets in. The car pulls away silently. "The sensor?" Speedy asks, his eyes on the road. "We go around it," Leonardo says. He had realized that the infrared heat sensor was positioned to detect body heat in the antechamber in front of the vault. but it was not aimed at the ceiling. They would bypass it from above. The next day, the genius would quietly disable a single CCTV camera in a corridor far from the vault. No alarms, just a dead signal that would be blamed on a minor electrical fault. And Leonardo would go back to his office, drink his coffee, and act like the most boring man in Antwerp. He knew that in a city of secrets, the best place to hide is in plain sight. The morning of the heist hangs over Antwerp like a gray, damp sheet. The city breathes slow in the early light. The streets of the Diamond Quarter are almost empty, save for a few early-rising traders and the sanitation workers washing the cobblestones. But in a small, anonymous apartment a few blocks away, something quietly extraordinary is about to begin. A group of men sit in a sparsely furnished room, their faces illuminated by the soft glow of a single lamp. The air is thick with the smell of old coffee and anticipation. They are waiting for a signal. One of them, the King of Keys, is polishing a newly cut key, his hands moving with a surgeon's steadiness. He already knows this story probably doesn't end with a quiet retirement. The signal comes, a single buzz on a burner phone. Leonardo, dressed in a simple business suit, enters the room. He smiles. The other doesn't. They don't speak. They don't need to. They understand. This is it. This is the point of no return. A few minutes later, the waiting is over. The men change into dark clothing, their movements economical and silent. No blood, no sound, just progress. This is Leonardo Notarbartolo's preferred way of working. Silent, deliberate action. At the same moment, in a security control room deep inside the Diamond Center, a guard yawns and takes a sip of his coffee. He glances at the bank of monitors. One screen is dark. He makes a note in the logbook. Camera C4, corridor 7, malfunction. He thinks about calling maintenance, then doesn't. It's the weekend. It can wait until Monday. Leonardo Notarbartolo already knows this. He's standing across the street, behind the window of his rented office, not because he needs confirmation, but because sometimes, when a plan works perfectly, you need to feel the pieces click into place for yourself. Inside the office, his second-in-command, Speedy, is packing a bag. "You sure this is the night?" he asks, his voice a low murmur. Leonardo nods. The diamond ball. The entire city will be distracted. The senior guards will be at the party. The junior guards will be wishing they were. Bold, Speedy leans back, watching the street. Or stupid. Leonardo shrugs. Sometimes they're the same thing. There's a pause. Then Leonardo speaks again, slower this time. They put a new contact plate on the vault door, a magnetic one. Speedy turns his head. You think we're being watched? I know we are. Many people still think that old-school heists are about brute force, that you smash a wall, grab the cash, and run. But Leonardo Notarbartolo wasn't a smasher. He was a student of systems. He knew that every fortress has a flaw, a blind spot, a place where the architects got lazy or overconfident. And for the Antwerp Diamond Center, that flaw wasn't in the technology. It was in the human habits that surrounded it. But unlike thieves of the past, he had to deal with a new generation of security, men who believed in fiber optics and motion detectors, and a city that prided itself on being the most secure diamond hub in the world. Case in point, the building's head of security, a man named Georges. Georges was a man of routine. He was meticulous, proud, and utterly predictable. Leonardo had studied Georges for 2 years. He knew which newspaper Georges read, what time he took his lunch, and the exact route he walked to the train station every evening. So when Leonardo learned that Georges was planning a surprise security drill for the weekend of the Diamond Ball, he didn't send a warning. He sent a distraction. A small, anonymous tip to the local police about a suspicious vehicle parked near Georges' home. The police, obligated to investigate, spent 2 hours questioning Georges and searching his car. By the time they were finished, Georges had missed his train. He was annoyed, flustered, and his carefully planned surprise drill was forgotten. He never once thought to check the vault. Message received. Meanwhile, Leonardo returns to his ritual. The window, the view, the unlit cigar. Tonight, he's not alone. His wife has called from Italy. She doesn't ask what he's doing. She doesn't need to. She just asks if he is being careful. "You're thinking again," she says. He considers. "No," he says, "just listening." And that somehow sounds more honest than anything else he said all day. Down below, the city continues to breathe, and Leonardo, he listens to the streets, to the silence, to the tiny noises that tell him when something's off. Because this city doesn't yell, it whispers. And tonight, he hears something new. The faint, rhythmic sound of music from the diamond ball, miles away, carried on the damp air. It's subtle, the perfect cover. He turns toward the desk. The burner phone buzzes once. New message. The key is in the lock. He stares into the dark. This isn't about money anymore. It's about art. The kind that doesn't belong in a museum. The kind that proves a legend wrong. He slips the phone into his pocket and walks down the stairs. Slower now. Measured. By the time he reaches the alley behind the building, Speedy is already waiting. "Car ready?" he asks. "Main entrance or service route?" Leonardo doesn't answer immediately. He glances at the street light flickering above them, then back at the dark window of his office. "Neither," he says. "We go in as tenants." Speedy swallows. He knows what that means. They would walk in through the front door using Leonardo's own security pass. They would hide in his office until the building was empty. The most audacious route was also the simplest. Because when you're about to defy a 10-layered security system, you need more than a plan. You need confidence. The kind of confidence that walks in the front door. The main lobby of the Antwerp Diamond Center isn't grand. It's the kind of place that doesn't just blend in, it camouflages. Tucked between other gray, serious-looking buildings, its entrance is functional, not flashy. At night, it smells of floor polish and recycled air. During the day, it smells of money and faint anxiety. Leonardo moves through the lobby as if he owns the place. No security drill tonight, no surprise inspections, just the distant hum of the city and a single bored-looking guard behind a thick glass panel. Leonardo waves, a casual, friendly gesture. The guard, who has seen him come and go 100 times, nods back without looking up from his crossword puzzle. Leonardo and Speedy take the elevator to the 3rd floor. They walk down the quiet corridor to Leonardo's office. The name on the door, Leonardo Notarbartolo, Gems and Jewels, is unremarkable, just one of dozens in the building. They step inside. The office is small, anonymous. A desk, a chair, a safe that has never held a single diamond. It's a stage set, and the performance is about to begin. They wait. For hours, they sit in the darkness, listening to the building settle. The last of the traders leave. The cleaning crew comes and goes, their vacuum cleaners humming in the distance. The building grows quiet. The only sound is the rhythmic ticking of a clock on the wall. "You look like a man about to commit a sin or a miracle," Speedy whispers. "I'm not sure which yet." "Good, because certainty is a trap." Leonardo takes a breath. The vault is ready, the team is in place, but the magnetic field. The shield is in the ventilation shaft on the 2nd floor. The monster put it there this afternoon, hidden inside a toolbox. And the cameras. Speedy smiles. The genius found a loop. For 3 minutes, the camera in the vault corridor will show an empty hallway. He can trigger it from his laptop, but only once. We have exactly 3 minutes to get past the camera and down to the vault antechamber. A memory prickles at the edge of Leonardo's mind. A 3-minute loop. It felt too simple, too clean. "It feels too easy," Leonardo says.
The best plans always do, until they're not, Speedy mutters. Back outside, the sky begins to soften. That fine Belgian mist that doesn't fall, but lingers, clinging to hair and collarbones. Leonardo knows it's time. He and Speedy leave the office, their footsteps silent on the carpeted floor. They move with the kind of pace that says, "We belong here." By the time they reach the stairwell, the genius is already inside, his laptop open. "Ready?" he asks. "Ready." The genius types a command. "You have 3 minutes. Go." Leonardo and Speedy move down the stairs, fast but silent. They reach the vault corridor. The camera is pointing at the far wall, unmoving. They slip past it. They reach the heavy steel door that leads to the vault antechamber. This is the first of the 10 layers. The King of Keys is waiting. He doesn't look at them. He's listening to the lock, his head pressed against the cold steel. He inserts his replica key. It turns. A soft click echoes in the silent corridor. The first door is open.
Later that night, Leonardo returns to his office, alone. He stands at the sink and splashes cold water on his face. He stares at his reflection longer than usual. He doesn't see a thief. He sees his father, a simple man who believed in hard work and honesty. A man who once told him, "Leonardo, the most valuable thing you can own is a good name." Was Leonardo trying to steal a fortune? Or was he trying to erase a name he never felt was truly his? He flips the light off. The room feels better in the dark. Elsewhere, in a damp, cold antechamber 2 floors below, 3 men huddle around a second, more complex door. One wears gloves. One wears a headlamp. The third, silent, holds a custom-built aluminum shield. They won't bypass the magnetic field. They'll blind it. "Notarbartolo knows," one of them whispers. "He's not guessing. He's seeing." A pause. And that's worse. The next morning, Leonardo doesn't go back to the apartment. He goes to a small cafe in the old town. Real coffee, old brick walls, a waitress who knows him by sight, but not by name. "L'habituel?" she asks. "The usual?" Leonardo nods. He takes his coffee outside and sits at a tiny table beneath an awning that's still wet from the night's rain. Across the street, a man pretends to read a newspaper for 20 minutes. Leonardo lets him, then stands, walks across calmly, and drops a sugar packet by the man's shoe. "Next time you follow me," he says softly, "try a different newspaper. This one is from yesterday." The man doesn't look up, but later that day, he's pulled from surveillance duty. Quietly, no reprimand, no promotion, just gone. Like a file removed from a cabinet. That night, Leonardo returns to the building. This time, it's he who's leading the way. Same corridor, same silence, but this time, the others wait for him. He lets them gather first. Then, with a slow breath, he places a small can of hairspray on the floor. "What's that for?" the monster asks. "For the infrared," Leonardo says. He explains his theory. The infrared sensors detect body heat, but if they spray a fine mist of hairspray into the air, the mist will reveal the invisible beams of the sensors. They can map the beams and then crawl under them. "You think that will work?" the King of Keys asks skeptically. "No," Leonardo says. "I think they expect us to think it will work. We're not going under. We're going over." Because disabling a system doesn't mean breaking it. Sometimes it means understanding it so well that you can walk right through it, leaving it perfectly intact, wondering if you were ever there at all. The vault antechamber isn't a place that wakes. It just shifts, like a sleeping animal that senses it's being watched but doesn't bother opening its eyes. By midnight, the heat of the day has dissipated, but a damp chill remains, pooling on the concrete floor and creeping up the steel walls. The city above is alive with the muted celebration of the Diamond Ball. Music drifts from open windows, taxis hiss on wet streets, and in the midst of it all, there are the men in the antechamber. They're not soldiers, not yet. They're craftsmen, specialists, ghosts in training. Men with hands too calloused for office work and minds too sharp for honest work. Most of them don't know each other's real names, but they know their job. They know which wires carry power and which carry data. They know how to move in the dark even when no one else is moving. And crucially, they know to trust Leonardo.
Leonardo sees them not as criminals, but as artists. Each one a master of a different, silent art. He remembers a lesson from his youth watching a master watchmaker repair a complex timepiece. The old man had told him, "You do not force the gears, Leonardo. You understand their purpose, and they will turn for you." This vault, this building, was his timepiece. One of them, the genius, has finished his work. He has bypassed the seismic sensor on the floor by building a small, elevated platform for them to work from. A simple table, its legs insulated with rubber. It won't stop an earthquake, but it will fool a sensor that's designed to detect vibrations from drilling. He wipes his hands on a rag and leans against a damp wall, waiting. Leonardo, wearing dark overalls and a headlamp, approaches on foot. Casual, quiet. "The genius," he says. The man nods. It is done. The platform is stable. The genius nods again, as stable as a church. "And the hairspray?" "Ready. But are you sure about this, Leo? The ceiling is low. If we trigger the infrared—" "We won't," Leonardo says. "The sensor is designed to detect a human body, standing or crouching. It's not designed to detect something moving just a few inches below the ceiling." He had spent a week in his office building a small model of the antechamber using a simple infrared camera he bought online to test his theory. The sensor had a blind spot, a tiny, horizontal slice of air right at the top. Is this just about the diamonds?" the genius asks, his voice cracking just slightly. "No," Leonardo says. "It's about the story. The story they tell about this vault. We are going to write a new ending." The genius doesn't ask what kind. Smart man. Later that night, Leonardo sits alone in the dark corridor, just outside the antechamber. Across from him sits the King of Keys. They are waiting for the monster and Speedy to position the final piece of equipment, the custom-built drill. "You remember the first time we met?" the King of Keys asks, his voice a low whisper. Leonardo nods. "In Turin, you were trying to open a safe and a jewelry store." "And I failed," the King of Keys says, a faint smile on his lips. "The lock was too complex, an Austrian design. I had never seen one like it." "But you didn't give up," Leonardo says. "You sat there for 6 hours, just listening to it." "And in the end, it told me its secret," the King of Keys says. He looks at the heavy vault door in front of them. This one is not talking. It is silent. It is proud." "Then we will have to be more patient than it is proud," Leonardo replies. That evening, the city fills with the sounds of celebration. The Diamond Ball is in full swing. One of the attendees, a senior security officer from the Diamond Center, notices a man watching him from across the ballroom. The man smiles, raises his glass in a silent toast, and then disappears into the crowd. The security officer feels a chill, but dismisses it. It's a party, after all. Leonardo stays in the corridor a while, his hands in his pockets, his eyes closed. He's not listening for threats. He's listening for patterns. There's a rhythm to this building, like a song, always on loop. But lately, a few notes have changed. The cleaning crews are leaving earlier, the night guards are taking longer breaks, and the whispers, always in motion, have shifted tone. One in particular, a new shipment of uncut diamonds had arrived from South Africa. No one says which boxes they're in. No one needs to. He opens his eyes. It's time. He walks back to the antechamber. He doesn't take the long route. He walks with the quiet confidence of a man who knows every inch of this building, every secret it holds. Back in the antechamber, he pours a glass of water from a canteen and sips it slowly. A single bead of condensation runs down the side. He watches it. He steps toward the vault door. His burner phone buzzes again, this time a voice. Unfamiliar, calm, female, French accent. "Monsieur Notarbartolo," she says, "you are not being careful enough. The key you copied has a friend, a digital one. The vault is one target. There are others." A pause. "And some of us still know how to send messages that don't require a key." Click. Silence. Leonardo doesn't move. He stands there, letting the cold of the antechamber seep into his bones. He turns off the phone, then immediately looks at the genius. "The lock," he says. "It's not just mechanical." The genius doesn't curse, he doesn't breathe loud. He just says, "So now what?" Leonardo looks at the massive, silent vault door. "Now," he says, "we listen for the silence." The genius chuckles. "You think the silence will tell us what to do?" "It always does, even when it's not supposed to. Because in Antwerp, the most secure vault can hide the simplest secret. And sometimes the road to the truth starts with nothing more than a whisper and a very patient hand. The alley behind the Diamond Center smells of wet cardboard and diesel. There's something oddly comforting about it, like a Sunday dinner interrupted by a silent alarm. Leonardo walks with a slow rhythm, his shoes scuffing softly against the worn cobblestones. Overhead, a single bare bulb sputters, casting a weak yellow light. Antwerp is always airing its secrets. He stops outside a rusted iron gate, marked only by a faded sign, De Koning and Zonen, mechanical repairs. There's no shop anymore, and the De Koning family hasn't been seen in years. But inside that forgotten space, tucked beneath layers of broken tools and discarded blueprints, is a man Leonardo hasn't spoken to in months. A man known only as the Ghost. He was a former security systems designer, a man who had built vaults, not broken into them. A remnant. And tonight, Leonardo needed a remnant. He pushes the gate. It creaks open like it's waking from a long nap. The Ghost sits behind a metal desk, sleeves rolled, a pair of thick glasses perched on his nose. He's soldering a circuit board. It's hard to tell if he's repairing something or preparing something. "You've come back," the Ghost says without looking up. "I have a question." "The vault," the Ghost says. It's not a question. He gestures at the chair across from him. Leonardo sits. "There is a digital signature," he begins, "tied to the mechanical lock. It doesn't trigger an alarm. It just listens." "Ah, the nightingale," the Ghost chuckles. "The what?" "The nightingale," the Ghost repeats, putting down his soldering iron. "It's an old Israeli design, a passive security measure. It doesn't stop you from opening the door. It just records the unique electronic signature of whatever tool you use to do it. A digital fingerprint. They know you were there, even if you leave no other trace. Is there a way around it?" "Not around it. Through it." The Ghost leans forward, his voice lower now. "The nightingale is designed to listen for anomalies, But if you give it the signal it expects to hear, a signal that says, all is well, it goes to sleep for exactly 60 seconds, long enough to turn the tumblers. And what is that signal? It's not a signal, it's a sequence, a series of electronic pulses, timed perfectly. A lullaby, you might say. They sit in silence for a moment. Outside, a tram rattles past, its bell clanging in the damp night air. Then the ghost leans in. You got the message, didn't you? Yes. A woman? Leonardo nods. Then you are already behind. She is not just warning you, she is testing you.
By the time Leonardo exits the building, the sky has shifted into that hazy pre-dawn gray where the light seems to press against the buildings rather than illuminate them. He walks to the corner where Speedy waits inside a dark sedan. He has a name for it, Leonardo says, sliding in. The Nightingale. Sounds like a spy in a bad film. It's real, and we need to sing it a lullaby. So what now? We send a gift. The gift is simple. A box of the finest Belgian chocolates delivered via courier to the office of the Diamond Center's IT security chief. Tucked inside the box, beneath the top layer of chocolates, is a tiny passive listening device. Leonardo doesn't expect to hear the sequence. He just wants to know if the IT chief makes any unusual phone calls. The message isn't about the content. It's about knowing if he's spooked. Hours later, Speedy reports back. He made one call to a number in Geneva. He spoke in French. Said only one thing. The bird is in the cage. That night, Leonardo doesn't go back to the antechamber. He goes to a small, smoky jazz club in the old town. The owner, a man named Marcus, knows him as a regular, a quiet Italian who likes the sad songs. Marcus brings him a folded napkin and sets it down with his drink. Inside the napkin, a note. The song has 5 notes. The first is silence. No signature, but Leonardo doesn't need one. He leaves the club and walks to the one place in Antwerp that feels truly quiet, the St. Paulus Kirk, a church famous for its eerie garden of life-size statues depicting the final hours of Christ. He walks through the garden, past the stone faces of angels and saints. At the back, near a small forgotten crypt, he finds him, the ghost, standing beside a broken statue, lit by nothing but the orange spill of distant city lights. You found me, the ghost says. You invited me. Fair. A beat. You're smarter than they say, he adds. That's why I'm not in jail. The ghost almost smiles. Yet. They walk through the silent garden, their footsteps echoing softly on the wet stone. It feels like walking inside a clock that's been long since stopped. You want to know the sequence, the ghost says. Leonardo doesn't respond. The ghost continues anyway. It's not mine to give. No, Leonardo says, but you know who has it. He stops walking. Are you working for them? The ghost stops too. I'm working for myself. That's worse. Why involve me? Because you're not a common thief. A pause. You hesitate. That means you're still an artist. That lands heavier than it should. Then he adds, also, I needed to know if you could track a ghost. You did. You tested me. No, I introduced myself. He steps closer. Leonardo doesn't flinch. There are 5 notes, the ghost whispers. The first is a power surge to the 3rd floor. The second is a shutdown of the ventilation system in Sector Diema. The third is a false heat alarm in the main lobby. The fourth is a 3-second communications blackout. And the fifth, he pauses. The fifth is silence. You have to wait exactly 12 seconds after the blackout. Then you have your 60 seconds of sleep. Before Leonardo can ask another question, he walks out. No goodbye, no parting shot. Just the sound of his leather shoes scuffing across the old stone.
and in the distance, a foghorn starts to blow from the port. Maybe at nothing. Maybe it's someone walking away with too many secrets. The sequence repeats in Leonardo's mind on the drive back to the apartment, each note a gear in a complex machine he is about to control. Power surge, ventilation shutdown, false alarm, blackout, silence. It's not a plan, it's a symphony. He hasn't told the rest of the team, not yet. The fan in the apartment turns slowly, clicking each time it leans left, like it's reminding him that waiting has a sound. Outside, the streets of Antwerp move through their nightly rhythm. Music spilling from bars, tires hissing on wet asphalt, sirens wailing faintly in the distance. But the apartment is quiet. It always is when he's deciding something. Silence has weight in Leonardo's world. It presses on his ribs. He picks up a small, hand-drawn schematic of the Diamond Center's electrical grid, still cold, still full of questions. He turns it over one more time just in case something's changed. It hasn't. In another part of town, his wife is sleeping. The team is waiting for his call. The whole world is holding its breath. He starts the car and drives. Not back to the Diamond Center, not to the jazz club, but up to a small hill overlooking the city. He stops at a scenic overlook. The city is a blanket of lights below. He takes out a small, encrypted radio. He keys in a sequence. The radio hisses, crackles, then a voice. The genius. "You're late," he says. "I have the music," Leonardo replies. That's it. No threats, no promises. Just an instruction wrapped in metaphor. He closes his eyes for a moment and then dials a number on a burner phone he's kept saved under the name The Florist. The Florist doesn't sell flowers, but he does know how to create a 3-second citywide communications blackout without anyone asking questions. When the line picks up, Leonardo says only 2 words: "Get ready." 2 nights later, they are back in the vault antechamber. It's colder than it should be. The air is still, heavy with the smell of concrete and ozone. The monster has finished drilling through the reinforced concrete wall next to the vault, creating a small opening into the vault itself, bypassing the door entirely. But the Nightingale is still active. They still need their 60 seconds. "You ready?" the genius asks, his fingers poised over his laptop. Leonardo nods. He looks at the King of Keys, who is ready with his custom-made tools. He looks at the monster, who is ready with the heavy-duty listening devices. He looks at Speedy, who is ready with the bags.
First note, Leonardo says. The genius types a command. Miles away, a small, controlled power surge causes the lights on the 3rd floor of the Diamond Center to flicker for a second. In the security control room, a guard makes a note. Minor power fluctuation. Second note, Leonardo says. The genius types again. The low hum of the ventilation system in their sector dies. The silence is sudden, absolute. Third note. A small, heat-generating device, planted in the lobby by Speedy earlier that day, triggers a silent alarm, but only on the IT chief's personal computer. The IT chief, at home, sees the alarm, assumes it's a glitch, and resets it. Fourth note. The florist does his work. For 3 seconds, all mobile and radio communications in a 5-block radius go dead. Now, Leonardo whispers, we wait. They count the seconds in their heads. 1, 2, 3. The silence is deafening. 4, 5, 6. Every man is holding his breath. 7, 8, 9. A drop of sweat runs down the genius's temple. 10, 11, 12. Go, Leonardo says. The King of Keys and the monster work with a frantic, focused energy. They have 60 seconds to get through the final layer of the vault's defenses and open the safety deposit boxes. The antechamber is filled with the low, urgent sounds of their work. Time, Leonardo asks. 30 seconds, Speedy replies. They work faster. The sounds are sharper now, more urgent. 15 seconds, Speedy says, his voice tense. They have opened dozens of boxes. Diamonds, cash, gold, bonds. The bags are filling up. 5 seconds. Out, Leonardo commands. They pull back, leaving their tools, their platform, everything. They retreat back into the main corridor, just as the genius reactivates the camera loop. They are gone. The Nightingale wakes up, listens, and hears nothing but the familiar, silent hum of a secure vault. It goes back to sleep. Back in the apartment, Leonardo doesn't celebrate. He walks to the window and looks out at the city. The rain has stopped. The sky is beginning to lighten in the east. Speedy comes and stands beside him. "You think they'll ever know?" he asks. "They'll know, but they'll never understand. Because in Antwerp, the most impossible heist isn't about what you take. It's about what you leave behind." And Leonardo Notarbartolo had left behind a perfect, beautiful silence, and a legend that was now broken. The morning after the heist doesn't arrive with a bang. It creeps into Antwerp on a wave of gray light, indifferent and slow. The city wakes to its usual rhythm. Trams clatter, bakeries open, and the first diamond traders make their way to the quarter, their minds on coffee and profit margins. No one knows that deep beneath their feet, a legend has been shattered. The discovery is quiet, almost anticlimactic. A trader, wanting to access his safety deposit box, goes down to the vault. He finds the antechamber door unlocked. He finds the main vault door still sealed, the time lock still engaged. Everything looks normal. But then, through the small opening the team had drilled in the side wall, he sees it. The scattered contents of open boxes. The floor littered with discarded jewels and bonds they didn't have time to take.
The alarm is raised, not with a siren, but with a series of quiet, urgent phone calls. The Antwerp police are notified. The world's press is, for now, kept in the dark. The Diamond Center wants to control the story, to understand the impossible before it becomes a headline. Imagine the scene. Investigators in crisp, white forensic suits moving through the silent vault. They are baffled. The main door is secure. The 10 layers of security are, on the surface, intact. The alarm logs show nothing. It's as if ghosts had passed through solid steel. They call it the perfect crime. But Leonardo Notarbartolo, for all his genius, for all his patience, had made a mistake. A very small, very human mistake. The escape had been flawless. The team had packed the loot, estimated at over $100 million, into duffel bags. They had driven out of Antwerp, heading towards Italy. They were jubilant, euphoric. They had done the impossible. But their nerves were frayed. The adrenaline of the past few days had left them exhausted and paranoid. Along a quiet stretch of motorway just outside Brussels, Speedy, the getaway driver and logistics man, began to panic. He was convinced they were being followed. He wanted to get rid of any evidence that could link them to the heist. Against Leonardo's advice, Speedy decided to burn the evidence. He pulled off the motorway and drove into a patch of dense woodland. There, in a small clearing, they made a bonfire. They threw in their overalls, their tools, the blueprints, the empty bags. But the fire was too big, the smoke too thick, and they were in a hurry. They didn't burn everything completely, and in their haste, they left things behind. A half-eaten salami sandwich, a receipt from a local hardware store, and crucially, a duffel bag containing some of the stolen diamonds, which they had somehow overlooked. They drove away, believing they had covered their tracks, but a local resident, seeing the smoke, called the police to report a possible forest fire. The police arrived, found the smoldering remains of the bonfire and the discarded bag. Inside the bag, they found the diamonds and the receipt and the sandwich. This was the first thread. The
the one tiny, loose thread that would allow the police to begin unraveling Leonardo's perfect crime. The receipt was from a hardware store in Antwerp. The police visited the store, checked their security cameras, and got a clear image of one of the team members. The half-eaten sandwich provided a DNA sample. The DNA was run through international databases. It matched Leonardo Notarbartolo. The name was a revelation. The quiet, respectable Italian diamond merchant from the third floor. The man who had been hiding in plain sight for over 2 years. The ghost suddenly had a face. The investigation now moved with incredible speed. The Belgian police, working with their Italian counterparts, began to track Leonardo and his team. They discovered his network, his history of high-end thefts. The School of Turin, they called his crew, known for their non-violent, technically brilliant heists. One by one, the members of the team were identified and arrested. The King of Keys, the monster, the genius. They were caught in Italy, in France, trying to live quiet lives with their newfound wealth. Leonardo himself was arrested in his hometown of Turin. He was found living a quiet life, his share of the loot nowhere to be seen. He denied everything. He claimed he had been framed. He said the heist was an inside job, a massive insurance fraud, and he had been hired to break into the vault, but only to steal a small amount, to make it look convincing. He claimed the real thieves were the Diamond Center's own people.
His story was elaborate, compelling, but the evidence against him was too strong. The DNA, the receipt, the testimony of his captured crew members. He was extradited to Belgium to stand trial. The trial was a media sensation. The story of the heist of the century captivated the world. Leonardo, always charming, always calm, stuck to his story. But the court found him guilty. He was sentenced to 10 years in prison. The aftermath of the Antwerp Diamond Heist is as quiet and mysterious as the planning. Even with Leonardo and his key members behind bars, the biggest question remains unanswered. Where are the diamonds? Of the estimated $100 million stolen, only a tiny fraction was ever recovered from that discarded bag in the woods. The rest, the vast majority of the treasure, has vanished. It has never been found. Did Leonardo hide it? Did Speedy manage to move it before he was caught? Does it still exist, a glittering fortune tucked away in a secret vault somewhere in the world? Or was it broken up, recut, and sold, a few stones at a time, disappearing back into the very market from which it was stolen? No one knows. Leonardo served his sentence and has since been released from prison. He continues to maintain his innocence, or at least his version of the story. He has written a book, given interviews. He is a man who seems to enjoy the legend he has created. But the legend has many holes. Many experts believe that Leonardo's team could not have bypassed the vault's security without inside help. Was there a sixth member of the team, someone who worked at the Diamond Center who has never been identified? Was the security system deliberately weakened? Was Leonardo telling the truth when he spoke of a wider conspiracy? The Diamond Center itself has never admitted to any security flaws. They maintain that they were the victims of a uniquely brilliant criminal mastermind. But the questions linger. The silence that follows the heist is filled with whispers and theories. And so the story of the Antwerp Diamond Heist becomes more than just a story of a robbery. It becomes a story about the nature of truth itself. A story with multiple endings, where you can choose the one you want to believe. Was Leonardo a genius who pulled off the perfect crime only to be undone by a simple mistake? Or was he a pawn in a much larger game, A man set up to take the fall for a crime that was far more complex than it appeared. The answer, like the missing diamonds, is lost to time. It is a quiet, glittering mystery locked away forever. And so, our story of the vault that shouldn't open comes to its quiet end. The hum of the security systems has returned. The diamond traders of Antwerp continue their work, perhaps a little less certain, a little more aware of the secrets that can lie hidden in plain sight. Think of Leonardo Notarbartolo standing at his office window, looking out at the city that held his obsession. A man who spent years studying a system, not to destroy it, but to understand it so perfectly that he could pass through it like a ghost. A man who sought not just wealth, but a kind of immortality. To be the one who solved the puzzle that no one else could. Think of that vault deep beneath the earth, a symbol of perfect security, of impenetrable strength. And think of how it was undone, not by an explosion, but by a copied key, a can of hairspray, and an almost supernatural patience. A quiet victory followed by a quiet unraveling. The mystery of the missing diamonds remains. $100 million of light and fire scattered to the winds. Perhaps they are funding new lives in distant countries. Or perhaps they are sitting in a quiet, dark place, waiting. A sleeping treasure, a silent secret. But for tonight, let these thoughts drift away. Let the images of the vault, the diamonds, and the quiet, clever thief fade like a dream upon waking. Let your mind become as still and peaceful as the empty corridors of the Diamond Center in the deep of the night. Let the gentle rhythm of your breathing be the only puzzle you need to solve now. A slow, steady journey into rest. Feel your body heavy and relaxed, sinking softly into your bed. You are safe. You are comfortable. All is quiet. The night is here. The world is turning slowly, and you are feeling wonderfully, deeply sleepy. Sleep now. Rest well, and may your dreams be of quiet, beautiful things.